What is going on, guys? Today we are looking at the Spyderco Endura. Yes, I have the stainless version, but we're going to be talking all things Endura in this video. I'll be honest with you guys. I have mixed feelings about the Spyderco Endura, but this is one of the knives that have stayed in my collection for a long time, and it's not going anywhere. So you'll kind of figure out why I like this knife, but also the things I do not like about the Endura design. Let's do some comparisons real quick first. So let's compare it to Case Kinzua, one of my new favorite knives. A little bit of a longer blade on this one. So yeah, a little bit longer of a blade, but you know, similar kind of metal handle. This is a back lock. This is a frame lock. SOG Aegis, I think that's how you pronounce it right here. Two stainless handled knives, you know, both relatively heavy, right? And one more. You'll never guess this knife. Go ahead and put it down in the comments if you think what you think I'm gonna compare it to next. Boom. This is a handmade dagger style knife that my sister-in-law got me in Hawaii, right? So this is, you know, just a standard Damascus pattern. Cool, just handmade knife, you know, really, really fun. Kind of sits in my display case. Just really cool knife to have. So yeah. All right, so Spyderco Endura. We're talking all things Endura, not just the stainless model. So let's look at the specs. So on all Enduras, you're looking at about a 3.75 inch blade. Handle is 5 inches. Usually they are made of FRN. That's the more popular design with the steel liners in there. But this is a full, you know, steel handled knife, very thin. Even the FRN version is thin as well. On the FRN version, you're looking at 3.67 ounces, so pretty lightweight for how long the blade is. On this one, it's 5.7 ounces, quite a bit heavier, obviously. Obviously, this is a backlock design. I like that locking bar. These are made in, sorry about that. These are made in Japan, Seki City, Japan. Been doing that for a while. And they are made of VG tin. You know, it really depends on the prices when it talks about models, because most are in VG10, some are on like ZDP 189. But usually you can find the FRN versions for, you know, 80, 90 bucks. And these versions go for like 110 about. So, all right, let's talk about what I like. So I like the leaf-shaped blade on these Enduras. Spyderco is very well known for that kind of drop point leaf-shaped blade. I really like that. It slices well. This is not the full flat grind version, which they also make. This is the flat ground version, and so it's got a nice stout tip, which I like. Still slices plenty good. For its size. So I like the strength on this knife too, even the ones in FRN. You know, it's a standard backlock design, so it's not going to be as smooth as something like, you know, this Case. Just going to be a lot smoother of a deployment on that knife, but still plenty smooth. And I like that locking bar. And the reason I like that is because when your hand is pressing against that, you know, your hand fat is less likely to engage that locking bar. So I think that is cool. I like that design on that locking bar. I also like the thin profile, particularly on this. Look how thin that is, guys. That's awesome. So it carries very, very nicely. And even if you're wearing dress pants, I've worn this in slacks, you know, and this carries very nicely. It's very heavy though, but even the FRN version carries very thin. So, you know, and that one's a lot lighter, obviously. But yeah, I love how thin the profile is, particularly on this stainless one. Now, this next light comes with a caveat. I like how light this blade is. I like how light the FRN version is. I've owned a couple FRN versions, and they are very, very lightweight. So I like how lightweight it is. This, even for being a full stainless knife, 5.7 ounces, you know, it's not terribly heavy, right? There are blades that are heavier with, you know, similar blade lengths. So this being full stainless, it's not that heavy actually for kind of what you're getting and the looks and the kind of classiness that a stainless handle offers. Now, I think that the normal Spyderco Endura with the FRN handles, I find them to be very unattractive, and we'll talk about that and what I don't like. But I think this stainless one is quite good looking. You know, this is kind of a classy looking blade. It's not terribly utilitarian. Of course, you can use this. It's going to cut whatever you're going to want to, but it doesn't feel very comfortable in hand, you know, with how thin it is. And another thing I'll talk about that I don't like with the handle. But yeah, so this is a very good looking blade, I think. Aside from this blade style, which I still just don't love the way Spyderco blades look. But overall, the design and the profile is nice. Okay, jimping. I do like the jimping on a lot of Spydercos. I think that that's just about perfect when it comes to how you can do jimping with that hump right there. I think that jimping is awesome. And the overall fit and finish on this one, particularly the stainless one, is really, really nice. There's not a lot of machining marks. It's very smooth, very, very, very smoothly, designed. Now, I can't say that for the Endura FRN because a lot of those, the fit and finish is not great on those, frankly. So let's get into what I don't like. We don't have any neutral points on this. I hate this handle, guys. Not just the stainless version. I hate this handle. And I'm starting to get annoyed with these finger grooves. I get why people do them, why companies do them. If your hand indexes correctly with finger grooves, then it's great because it really locks you in. My hands index exactly wrong on this, right? This is my issue with all of the Enduras. The way my hand wants to grab this, my middle finger is indexing right on that point right there. And that's not a comfortable way to hold this knife. It's just not, even with the FRN version, I would not use this for extended use. I don't like the design of this handle. I'm sure it fits most people just fine. A lot of people don't have a thick fingers as I do. But I just do not appreciate how this indexes with my hand. And so it's not a knife that I'm going to carry all that regularly, because if I have to do any sort of extended tasks with it, that's just going to jab into my hand fat, and it's going to be uncomfortable, and I'm not going to appreciate it. So that is my biggest issue with the Endura. That's the reason I only own this one. I got a great deal on this one. That's kind of why I own it, and because it looks kind of classy with the stainless handle. I really like this blade and the performance that it offers, and I like actually the looks overall of this knife. Except for that Spyderco blade. I just still think it's ugly. But I hate that. I wish that was just sanded down, and if they had to have a swoop, they could kind of come up here with this really, really nice, generous, very mild groove right here. And it would index just so much better with my hands. So that's one of the reasons you don't hear me talking a bunch about the Endura, because the Endura is one of those knives that kind of everyone loves, but I just can't get into, right? It's kind of like the Griptilian for me. I just can't love it as much as they do, even though I do still like this knife. What else do I don't like? Well, this clip is way too high, guys. I mean, look how much is sticking out of your pocket. And that is nice and shiny, which is cool. Looks nice. But man, does that poke out of your pocket and get you some stairs, right? So that's just too high. I get they have the lanyard hole right here, but the clip design should be a loop over. That way not that much is sticking out. You can get aftermarket ones, of course, so it's not a huge deal, but still something I don't love. On this model particularly, there are no adjustments for the pivot. You can see if you look real close. Can you see that? Yeah, where that pivot is pinned. Now, that being said, this thing has been through some use, and it's still tight. So I can't complain too much on it, but I still would appreciate being able to adjust a knife like this. Now, on the regular one, you can't adjust it. So I still am going to say it's something I don't like about this particular stainless model. So what else do I don't like? Ugly blade. I don't like Spyderco's blade. Performance-wise, they're fantastic. They're still ugly. I know that, a knife is a tool and you want a tool to perform. But what we care about when we see a knife, more times than not, it has more to do with how it looks than how it performs. And this probably performs better than this, especially the flat ground version of this in day-to-day EDC uses. Flat grind is going to perform way better than this. I'm going to carry this knife more because it looks cooler and it makes me feel better about carrying it. This is a way better looking knife. And I get it, that has nothing to do with performance. But we knife people, that's not all we care about. A lot of times we care more about looks than we do performance. Not all of us. Anyway, and that kind of brings us into what's unique. So the Endura remains one of the most kind of popular design knives that just has this super ugly blade. It just has it. I do like the overall looks of it, but it's one of those knives that's so popular that most people, I think, would look at and go, why? It's so ugly. Yeah, sure, it might perform well, but it's so ugly. Even though I do like the looks of this particular model, the regular FRN Endura, I think is terribly, terribly ugly. The only reason I like the looks of this is because it has a full stainless, kind of style to it. But I think there's something to be said about that, right? So if you can design a blade that doesn't particularly look aesthetically pleasing, let's think of the FRN version more in this case. If you can design a blade that isn't particularly good looking, and yet it sells so darn well and it performs so darn well that so many people who carry knives in the EDC community, anything like that, love it, then I think that's kind of something special, right? That shows that you have a well-designed blade, and I think that's really unique, actually. That Spyderco really does a good job of saying, we're going to design a blade that is very utilitarian, even if it's not as pretty as, a Tanto, or a Tonto rather. People talk about that in my comments all the time. It's pronounced Tonto. I know. A Tonto blade or a clip point, right? So I think that's very unique. And I actually kind of appreciate and admire Spyderco for leaning into that, right? Leaning into that spider hole and that kind of not super, good looking drop point design. So that's what how I feel about the knife. Do I recommend it? Well, this is what I would say. Get your hands on one before you buy one. If the handle indexes with you well, absolutely pick one up. It's going to perform very well. If it does not, there are probably other Spyderco designs like the Tenacious, or they have a few others. I can't think of any more at the top of my head, but the Tenacious is definitely a good, even cheaper, option, but in cheaper steel. You can get an S35 now though, so those are about the same price as this. So those index a lot better, with I think a lot more people because they're a more neutrally designed handle. So get your hands on one. If you like it, absolutely, I would recommend it, even though I don't love the design of this blade, even though the stainless one is good looking. So that's what I have to say about the Spyderco Endura. Guys, remember to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.